I love the arcades. It's this magical place where people from all walks of life can come together and either beat each other's butts or combine for one greater goal, winning the game. It's awesome. I love it. But let's just be real. Not all the games, even the classics, were that great. So that's what this list is all about. The games we look back on and go, were they really that great? Now, as always, this is a very personal list just to me, so I'd love for you to head down in the comments. Let me know what your most overrated arcade games are, and let me know why I'm such an idiot for putting your favorite game on this list. Now, if you're new, make sure you hit the subscribe button so we can continue to grow this tiny little retro gaming community we have going on here. And if you want to see my thoughts on today's gaming and entertainment news, you can subscribe to my brand new Craig Talks news channel. There's a link down in the description and in the pinned comment. It's growing like a weed, and I'd love to see you there. Now, with that said, hey, I'm Stuttering Craig, and these are my top 10 overrated arcade games.
Number 10.
All right, so number 10 on my list is something that I actually own the Nintendo version of this game, which the Nintendo version of the game is fine. It's okay. I think when you think of in the grand scale of top arcade games, this is probably not listed in the top 20 maybe, but it is listed probably in the top 50. It is a classic when people refer to classic games. It actually has a spot in pop culture, but the game itself doesn't really do a whole lot for me. It's a puzzle-based game, and you heard it right there. I'm talking about my man, Cubert. All right, so Cubert, like it says, you jump on squares and change them all to a target color. You stay on the playing field. You jump off every once in a while to go back up to the top. It clears off the enemies. And you just try to avoid the enemies as you clear these things off. This is a game that, once again, he's in Wreck-It Ralph, and you bounce around, and you just kind of go from spot to spot, changing around the colors, avoiding these little guys. It's a very simple game. I think I personally, you can go back to the top, everybody dies. It's very simple. This is one of those games that it's so simple. Get the hell out of here. It's so simple that it's easy to play, but obviously hard to master, and which I appreciate that. But at the same time, it's not. I want to say that it's not super in depth, but it's almost too in depth. It confuses me while I play this game, and I've never understood the fascination with this game. And, you know, I think I got to like level 3 on the Nintendo. But for me, this is just one of those, I don't know. I never got into it. Just never really got into it. And if you did get into this game, please tell me why you got into it. The beautiful thing about this game is at its core, you can manipulate a lot of these enemies and a lot of graphics. It's kind of like Pac-Man. You can manipulate enemies to go where you want to go. That's the whole idea behind these classic games, manipulating the code, manipulating the relationship that you want. And that's really what you're doing here with Cubert. I feel like it's less of a game of skill and more of a game of manipulation. And I think that's probably the biggest reason why I'm not a huge fan of this. I just never ever got it.
Number 9.
All right, when you talk about sheer iconic games that everybody older than me played in the arcade in the 70s, people will always come back to this game. It is a game that is about as simple as it gets, but also as iconic as it gets, but also as basic as it gets, which I guess is also as simple. I'm talking about Space Invaders. Once again, for its time, extremely innovative. In 1978, this was mind-blowing. You are shooting at these crazy guys, these aliens coming down there. They're Space Invaders. And you can get behind cover, and that's all awesome. I actually played this game on the Intellivision, or the Coleco, whatever it was, the one of the spinny disc thing. And I was like, okay, I get it. And it has some sort of music that's kind of going, dun, 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 dun. And you got to shoot the big thing, and so you got this annoying primitive sound. It's just so basic that in the grand scheme of things, there are people who think this game is the bee's knees. Not I, said Craig. I think this game was fine for its time, but as you look at everything, how this game has gone, how this game has aged, It's just a game where you shoot at things that are coming at you and you move back and forth and your bullets go straight. You don't have like special laser crazy super guns or things that clear you out. I'd say the best thing that came out of this game was the souped up version that you can now play in the arcade that has the crazy guns and you're shooting all over the place. I don't know. Like, it's fine. It's like a, you know, a fun little game. Can we also just talk about the score as well? 880 points, 930 points. I want some serious points. Like, this is the best part of the game where it's moving super fast. You know it is. And this guy's an idiot. Why don't you just hit it? Hit it! Hit it! Hit it! Oh, thank God. And then it just starts over. And that's what you do. Over and over and over again. Pew, 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 pew. You get annoying yet?
Number 8.
And when we were talking about arcade games, I want you to keep something in mind. We're talking about all arcade games, all of them. It doesn't need to be a video game, and that's what we're talking about here. So for this example, I'm going to talk about the biggest quarter time crunch in the world. It's the quickest amount of way to lose your money outside of playing, like gambling. We're talking about SkeeBall. I think SkeeBall is incredibly overrated. I don't understand it. The simple thrill of throwing something straight up the middle, I just don't get it. Look at all these people who love SkeeBall so much. The immense athleticism attached to it. The form, back and forth, going up, playing at their local Chuck E. Cheese. It's insane the amount of concentration that it hits to go up. It's kind of like axe throwing, in that when you go axe throwing, you're just throwing at the same thing over and over again, or shooting free throws, if you will, right? The goal is to go up the center of the gut. You want to go up, this guy got 540, congratulations. But what we're actually watching now is the 2019, that's skill right there. That 9 in a row, that's a perfect score. That's what I'm talking about right there, except I've never got one of those before. Look, I'm no SkeeBall expert, and these guys are SkeeBall experts. When your high end is 25 tickets for a perfect score, I'm just saying, there's way better ways to spend your money. At the end of the day, we all know what happens. You throw the SkeeBall, you don't throw it hard enough, especially watching kids. You want kids to have good experience. You give a SkeeBall to a little kid, they're gonna toss that up, just toss it up. They're gonna toss you the SkeeBall, and you know what they're gonna do? It's gonna go whoop, right over the edge. Everybody's seen it. Everybody knows it's going to happen. And it's the worst. You want to give kids a good experience when they go. And it's the worst. I can't stand it. I can't deal with it. These people are giving SkeeBall a great name, and that's why I can't show it anymore. They're too good at SkeeBall. I'm not. I just don't understand the fascination with this game. SkeeBall always makes you look incompetent.
Number 7.
Once again, a classic in every sense of the word, except it doesn't hold up today. This is a game that I've never truly understood. I've played it many, many times, but I just never really got it. I just don't get the attraction to Tempest. This is a game where you move around the outside, you have things coming at you, but for me, the wireframe graphics of this game never truly drew me in. I just don't understand Tempest. I don't understand the draw. I don't understand the idea of what you have. You know, yes, you move from side to side and you got this back and forth thing, and you know, it's really fast paced, and those who are really good at this game are insanely good at this game. But for me, Tempest is a game that it is definitely a product of its time, which was 1980. It says it right here, Atari 1980. When you think of classic Atari games, you think of games like Tempest. But there's also a reason why Atari isn't making games today, because they make games like Tempest. Like, I don't know. Like, you can see, you play it with a joystick, you just round side to side. And I guess that's kind of interesting. But for me, I don't know. Just never really cut it.
Number 6.
Oh, baby. Now is the time where everybody gets irate at me, but I say, meh, I don't care. You guys know I have a long history with this Nintendo version of this game, but the arcade version of this game, I truly don't understand. A 2-monitor setup cannot save this from being absolutely mediocre to the point where I don't understand how this game got put on the Nintendo Entertainment System. The Nintendo Entertainment System is vastly superior to the arcade version. I'm talking about Punch-Out. Punch-Out for the arcade is something that I truly don't get. You have a wireframed Joe Challenger guy. I mean, that's fine, fighting Glass Joe. But as you go through and you play through, you do have the talkie talk, which is wonderful, but you couldn't hear it in an arcade. All right, now is the part. Everyone turn up your headphones, and this is the problem with this game right here.
Body blow, knock him out.
There you go. Body blow, go, go, go. So it's a 2-monitor setup. It's kind of like a DS in a weird way, right? I mean, it's exactly like a DS, a dual screen. You have the top screen, which really does absolutely nothing. Then you have this bottom screen, which gives you all the gameplay and stuff. That's great. That's dandy. But there's one thing I'll tell you about this game is that I think that the controls are really bad. I really do feel like the controls are very, very bad. Look at this nonsense right here going on. Like you got a bunch of like this guy's insane at this game, by the way. Thanks to Nintendo Complete for this gameplay here. Ridiculous. But I don't know. Like for me, this game it doesn't control very well. Oh, this is Piston Hurricane. Look at him. He looks totally different than the Nintendo game. There's Bald Bull. I mean, I do like that they brought the characters over to the NES game, but I don't think anybody can tell you that the NES version is not superior to the arcade version. And you got to play it at your house, and you didn't have to stack 2 CRT TVs on top of each other to play it.
Right hook, uppercut, uppercut, uppercut. Body blow.
Number 5.
All right. It's bound to piss somebody off, but I'm sure some of you guys are going to be shaking your head going, yeah, that's true. It's really not that good. Hey, you guys like Mario? It's really good. You guys like Super Mario? You guys know that was actually an arcade game, and the arcade game was different than the NES version, just with slight variations. It was kind of like a combination of Super Mario Brothers on the NES and Super Mario Brothers 2 on the Famicom. Now, I'm not even talking about that. I'm talking about the original Mario Brothers. This game, I just truly don't get it. Thanks to longplays.org for this right here. Look, there's so much good about the Mario games. So much good. But when it comes to this game in particular, I'll tell you this right now. Yes, it kind of established Mario as a character. Yes, it gave you the little Goomba, the little turtles and all that stuff. That's great. But can we just talk about how unbelievably, ridiculously poor this game controls? It is probably one of the worst controlling games I literally have ever played. It's slippy. It's all over the place. There's a point in the game where you literally play on ice, but you can't tell because the entire game feels like you're playing on ice. I just don't understand the fascination with this game. Even when they started packaging this game as like on the NES way back in the day, I never understood it. Yes, it gave us the POW block. Yes, it gave us the idea of Mario and the Koopas and stuff, but it's just so weird that the jumps, the most important thing about Mario is his jumps. And they certainly did not master the jumps at this point. The jumps in this game were not even close to being where they needed to be. The sliding all over the place was gross. It just didn't feel good. Look at this. This guy's played this thing perfectly. Perfectly. And he barely got it. That's just not even realistic. Just unbelievably realistic. So anyways, and yeah, I understand that you can play 2 players at the same time and there's a versus mode element to it, but no, don't give me that nonsense. We all know that we didn't have any friends to play this game, right? We all know that, right? And nobody got around to it. And where do these crab guys go? If I can just continue my rant for a little bit, where do these crab guys go in the Nintendo? Like, why aren't they in Mario World anymore? Or in Mario? Like, where are the crabs? I want to know where these guys are specifically. And are they called crabs? Or do they have some sort of crazy name, like Goomba? This poor crab just booting them off the screen. It's ridiculous.
Number 4.
All right, once again, when you talk about classics, this is a game that is very much brought up, but I'm just going to be honest with you guys. It's not very good when you go back and you play it. It's very repetitive, and it's honestly the first... You guys know exactly what this is. It's honestly the first example of play to win, in my first example. We're talking about the original Gauntlet. A game where, like, yes, it talked and stuff, but one of the things about this game that just drove me absolutely crazy is how your health, and you can't see it here, but your health is always going down. Always. And that may be a metaphor for real life, and I understand that. But at the same time, I don't think that's how video games should be. I don't want to be a green elf fighting all sorts of ghosts with my life constantly being ticked down. But you know what happens when you put in some money? You get more health. It was like the first pay-to-win scheme. It's ridiculous. It allows you to video game enhancement systems like Game Genie. Now, yeah, you could play as multiple players and stuff while you play through this. I mean, I get it. There's, all sorts of things going on the screen. But I will tell you this. Gauntlet Legends, vastly superior. The sequels to this, way better, way more fun. But I think the idea of why people like this game was it was a 4 players could play at the same time, which was a novelty, right? And people in arcades, the arcade game owners like this because they could collect 4 times as much money while you played through it. So the novelty of this game is that you can play. A lot of people can play it. The reality of this game is that it's just not very good. It's just not very fun.
Number 3.
Hey, you know what? Graphics are really important in video games, especially in the arcades in the 80s and early 90s. Graphics were a big differentiator between a good game and a great game. If you could play a Ninja Turtles game and it looked like the cartoon you were playing, that's a big deal. If you could play X-Men and you could play a game that looked like X-Men, that's a big deal. If you could play a game that looked like Dragon's Lair, that's a big deal. The problem is the first 2 of those games were really good, and the third one was Dragon's Lair. Let's check this game out. This is a nice little intro here. All right. Dragon's Lair is a insane game that when you look at it on the surface, you go, wow, this game looks awesome. Because it was a cartoon. It was a cartoon that you could play, and it talked to you, and you went through. The problem is that when you played it, it was a trial and error thing with horrible controls. And when you have a trial and error game with horrible controls, that doesn't make the trial very fun. Just a lot of errors over and over again, which once again, if you made it this far in the game, you're lying. You're lying. You never did. This is the beauty about watching playthroughs on YouTube, because when you watch them, so you can see, number one, see how many times they die, see how many times, see the proper paths that you get through. And if you listen here, just listen, you'll see every time you hear a doot, that's a decision that's made. You get to see him die and respawn. So here we go. Every single time, that's a decision that you made. Pressing left, right, up. And yes, this looks spectacular. Once again, this is an arcade game from 1983. But even as spectacular as this game looks, the controls were the mighty undoing. Were the mighty undoing of this game. And it's something that, yes, it looks, as you watch this, you go, I don't understand what makes this game so bad. You just have to play it. And that's what people say. What makes Dragon's Lair so bad? You just got to play it.
Number 2.
When you talk about the memes, this game is definitely one of them, especially when it comes to games from the 80s and 90s. But I got to be honest, this game is very meme-worthy, but it is just straight up dog shit. And yes, everything about it says awesome until you actually play the game. And I'm talking about, yes, the NES version. No, I'm actually talking about the arcade version. The arcade version isn't good either. I'm talking about Bad Dudes. Bad Dudes is not a good arcade game. It's not a good game at all. It controls ridiculously bad. It plays in like 15 frames per second. As you play through, the music is not good. It has that like sticky. You can see like the 2 or 3 frames of animation. He's here fighting a boss right here. I'm sorry. He's just fighting a regular ninja over here. Like the name is the selling point. You're gonna fight Karnov. Look at this. You fight Karnov is when you start. But once again, the name here is the selling point. Are you bad enough, dude, to save the president? I think that's great. I think that's a great tagline. Yes, you get cheeseburgers or hamburgers or whatever it is. That's all fine and dandy. But the reality is that you're never going to want to get there. You're never going to want to get there because you're going to get to the end. You're going to die into it. Now, I will tell you this part right here. As you play through, I've never heard this before. I should have ranked this game higher simply because this happens.
I'm bad.
Okay, I knew he said I'm bad. Actually, I thought Karnov actually said I'm dead, which would have been a lot funnier. Okay, we're gonna keep this at number 2. We're gonna skip ahead to the ending here because, you know, obviously we got to be bad enough, dude, to save the president, and we are bad enough, dude. Lots of deaths happening in this game, not because the game is hard, but the game controls ridiculously bad. Sorry for the pun. But I've never understood this game, even on the NES. The arcade version especially. It just doesn't do it for me. Here, look, we saved the president. So here we go. We're going to get the ending here at the very end, and the dragon chopper. It's not unlike Ronald Reagan. Here we go. Let's just check out the ending, then we'll be moving on to number 1. Let's go for a burger. Ha 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 ha. Like, tell me this isn't Jean-Claude Van Damme. Like, Jean-Claude Van Damme and Ronald Reagan hanging out in Bad Dudes. So stupid.
Number 1.
All right, there are people who are willing to pay $300, $400, $500 of the arcade one-up version of this game. I certainly am not one of them. I don't understand the appeal of this game. Now, this is a very meta game when you think about it. This is a game that a lot of people who grew up in the early 80s arcades will swear by this game, say it's one of the best games of all time. But it's a very meta game in that it is a game that's based off of a movie that's based off of a game. And I'm talking about the insanity that is Tron. This game, I just truly have never understood the look, appeal, or desire to play it. As you play through, it's essentially 3 or 4 main mini games as you go through and you play. There's a tank game, and yeah, it has like cool Tron sound effects, which for 1982 was pretty awesome. But you play as a tank. There's a tank game, which is fine. Then there's a game of Snake, which is more or less the speeder bike thing, which, once again, for its time, 1982, breathtaking. But if you were to put this game in front of kids today, they'd go, what the hell am I playing? What the hell am I looking at? Let's take a look at the speeder bike game. You know, it's just a Snake, which you can play on your TI-83 calculator, which we all did. And here's the one that I've never really got. Yeah, there's like a spider thing, but this is the one I really don't understand. This one right here. Where you got to get to the, I don't know. It's just like, I don't understand. I've never understood the appeal of this game. The movie was cool for its time. I actually liked the new movie, but the original movie, I don't know. It was fine. And maybe that's where my sheer overratedness of this game by the general arcade goer of the 80s really grinds my gears a little bit, because I just don't understand why people would buy a $500 version of this game from Arcade 1-Up or a reproduction. Because when I went to arcade auctions, people would fight over this list, or over this game. People would fight. I hope they fight over my list. You know it. But I don't know. Never quite done it for me. Never will. And that's why Tron is number 1 on my list. I don't get you, Tron freaks. All right, so what'd you think? Let me know down in the comments your most overrated arcade game. Let me know your most underrated arcade game, because I think that list may be coming very soon. So make sure you hit the subscribe button. And of course, subscribe to the brand new Craig Talks News channel as well. Once again, link down in the description and on your screen right now. I'll see you guys next time.